Okay guys, you have finished laying out your planetarium brochure. You've paid attention to the trim and the bleed and the live area margins, fold lines. Now it's time to hand it in. So before we discuss that, I want to make sure that you look at the assignment. Here I've given you some information on how to set up your pre-flight. And then here is all the criteria that I'm going to be looking for so that you'll get your full points. First, you have to have crop marks, fold marks, and bleed. Your type choices need to be good with hierarchy and styling. Your images need to have no distortion on them and be at least 200 ppi. Your text has to all be within a live area, meaning not too close to the edge where it's going to get chopped off, and hopefully within a generous margin. The layout and flow of the brochure needs to make sense as far as what you see first when you open it and what you see in combination with the fold. And then the trifold needs to have a cohesive design, meaning that the type is uniform and the colors and the feel of it and spacing, so the whole thing holds together really well. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to set up a pre-flight just for this. So you're going to go to Define Profiles, and you can hit plus right here, and we're going to call this Trifold Printing. And you're going to go from the very start, you're going to make sure that links missing are flagged. For color, we don't have any color problems because we're going to convert this into PDF. Your images should be at least 200. Make sure that's in there. Non-proportional scaling of placed object, make sure that's in there. And then bleed or trim hazard. So the live area, we don't want anything more than, I think, a 1/4 inch is fine. We don't want anything that has type in it to get closer to the edge than that. We don't want overset text, meaning we don't want a text box where all the text does not fit in it. We're not going to hit paragraph style and character style overrides because there might be an exception to a paragraph style and that would give you an override, and that's okay. You can click dynamic spelling. That'll detect errors as you go. There should be no spelling errors or typos anywhere on this brochure because you should have imported the text. Minimum type size, I'm not worried about that. And then we'll get down here to the bleed and the slug setup. So the bleed must be a minimum of 0.125 and the slug must be a minimum of 0.25. In fact, you could even make the slug a little bigger. And then there's one more thing I want you to do. Now that you have this all set up, I want this pre-flight to go with your file, meaning that when I open it, I will see a pre-flight profile that you've set up within your document. And all you have to do to make that happen is click here and say embed profile. So that profile will now always be in your document. You say okay. The other thing we need to do is we need to set up the presets. Because you're going to be packaging this, it's going to make a PDF automatically, which means you're not going to see the normal window where you can change things. So we're going to set that up ahead of time here, and we're going to say define. We want it to be a new preset, and we're going to call this trifold printing. This is what we would use as a preset when we're sending something that's a trifold. Here is the sampling, anything that's over 300. Some of the images in here get really large. We don't really want to embed images that are way beyond the size we need. And then here we want crop marks. We want to use the document bleed settings, and this is really important for a trifold. We want to include the slug area because we want to be able to see those fold lines. If you don't put that, they won't show. And then one last thing, because my document has some RGB files, and so does yours if you got some of those images online, you can convert everything here, and we want to convert it to web coded, which is going to turn everything into a CMYK, and that's what we want. So this is our profile for trifold printing. Now let's see if we have any errors with that profile that we just set up, trifold printing. So I have a bleed and trim hazard on a line here. So that's my fold line, so that's not going to be a problem. I can move it away from the bleed though, just to make that go away. And then it's probably got the same thing going on here. So I'll get those out of the bleed area. Now I have one text, a dynamic spelling problem. Oh, that just says that the dynamic spelling is not enabled. Okay, so I have no errors other than that dynamic spelling. Actually, I could set that up. So if I just go to spelling and put it on dynamic spelling, what it'll do is it'll outline anything it thinks is misspelled. So this is just a different spelling of theater, so there's nothing wrong with that one. And I don't see anything else. Of course, the websites and Instagram. Now let's package it. I'm just going to hit package, save it before continuing. Make sure you use the correct naming convention. Don Vito, OC Planetarium, Trifold. Generally, a naming convention will say whose it is, what is it, and what's it for. Those are really important. And then down here, see at the bottom where it's asking what the preset, we want that trifold printing preset. That's going to give us everything we need to get this exported correctly. And now let's go look and see what that PDF, always look at the PDF before you send this off. And there is our fold lines, trim lines are within the background. Perfect, everything looks good. And that's it. Now all you have to do is zip that file. And remember not to add zip to it. It will already put zip on the file name. If you add it, it makes it impossible to open. And that's it. Upload that and you're good to go.